Some prisons are more than buildings. They are living shadows where fear moves through every hallway, and every door hides a story no one wants to hear. Inside these walls, silence is louder than screams, and even the strongest minds can break. The events you are about to see are real. Nothing here is fiction. These are real prisons, real people, and real lives shaped by fear, control, and survival. What happens when punishment turns into isolation, when freedom feels like a memory? Tonight, you will step inside the three most feared prisons in the United States. America has thousands of prisons, but only a few stand apart. They are feared not just for who is inside, but for what life is like behind their walls. These prisons are designed to control, to punish, and to enforce order in ways most of us cannot imagine. ADX Florence in Colorado, San Quentin in California, and Attica in New York each have a reputation that reaches beyond their walls. They are known for the people they hold, the history they carry, and the extreme conditions that define every day within them. This is a journey through isolation, death, rebellion, and reform. A journey into the very edge of American justice and fear. Before we dive deeper, make sure you stay until the end. What you are about to hear is real, and it will change the way you think about prisons. ADX Florence, deep in the Colorado desert, is known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies. It was built in 1994 to hold the most dangerous criminals in the federal system, those who could not be trusted anywhere else. The design of the prison is extreme. Every cell is small, made of poured concrete and steel, with a single narrow window that barely lets in light. The hallways are long, echoing, and silent. Inmates spend 22 to 23 hours each day alone, with almost no contact with other people. Every sound, even a whisper or a clatter, carries through the cold walls, reminding them of how tightly controlled their lives are. ADX was created after violent incidents at other federal prisons, including the deaths of correctional officers, and it was meant to contain the most dangerous men without risk of escape or chaos. Life inside ADX Florence is a battle of mind and body. The routine is unrelenting. Guards monitor every movement, every conversation, every action. Meals are served through slots in the doors. Exercise takes place in small, individual cages. Even when outside, prisoners are alone. The people housed here include notorious figures such as El Chapo, the Unabomber, and terrorists who pose risks not just to the public, but to anyone inside the prison. Solitary confinement at this extreme is not just isolation. It is a constant test of endurance. The psychological toll is severe. Some inmates struggle to maintain their sense of reality, while others find ways to cope with routines that strip them of human connection. In this place, silence itself becomes a punishment, and the mind is forced to confront the weight of time and space alone. ADX Florence exists because the system demanded a place to contain extreme violence and disruption. Every feature of the prison, from its thick concrete walls to its motion detectors and cameras, is designed for absolute control. Security takes precedence over comfort. Every step is regulated, every sound monitored, and every decision is observed. Even simple acts like walking to a small exercise cage or receiving a meal remind inmates that freedom is impossible. Despite the harshness, the facility is meant to prevent violence and maintain order. Yet the cost is high. Inmates are pushed to the limits of mental endurance. Isolation, monotony, and constant supervision create an environment where fear and silence dominate every moment. At ADX Florence, the question is not whether prisoners survive, but whether they can endure a place where even silence feels loud, and every day is a measure of control, resilience, and the extreme consequences of being deemed too dangerous for the outside world. On the northern shores of San Francisco Bay, a place of legend and fear stands guard. This is San Quentin State Prison, California's oldest and most notorious correctional facility. Since 1854, its walls have witnessed the tides of history, from the chaos of the gold rush to the complexities of modern justice. More than just a prison, San Quentin is a living monument to punishment, reform, and the human spirit's will to survive against all odds. For over a century and a half, San Quentin has been synonymous with one chilling reality: death row. It houses the largest male death row population in the United States, a city of the condemned waiting for a fate that may never come. The methods of execution have evolved over time, from the grim spectacle of the gallows to the cold efficiency of the gas chamber, and finally to lethal injection. Each method has left its mark, contributing to the prison's dark legacy. The very air seems to carry the weight of the hundreds of lives that ended within these walls, a constant reminder of the finality of justice. Every brick, every corridor whispers stories of life lived on the razor's edge, where survival demands a unique blend of strength, cunning, and sheer endurance. Life inside San Quentin is a world of structured intensity. The facility is chronically overcrowded, with thousands of men packed into aging cell blocks and vast, open dormitories. Daily routines are rigid and unforgiving. The day begins before sunrise with a count, followed by a tightly controlled schedule of meals, work assignments, and limited yard time. Unlike the extreme isolation found in supermax prisons, there is a degree of movement and interaction here, but it's a tense, carefully managed ecosystem. For those on death row, life is even more constrained. They live under constant, unblinking surveillance. Every action, from how they walk to the mess hall to when they can speak, is governed by a complex web of rules designed to maintain absolute control. The psychological pressure is immense, a slow grind that tests the sanity of even the strongest minds. The prison's reputation is amplified by the infamous figures who have walked its tiers. Names like Charles Manson, the cult leader whose very presence seemed to poison the air, and Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, have added layers to San Quentin's dark mystique. Their notoriety casts a long shadow over the facility, turning it into a macabre tourist attraction for the public imagination. The presence of such individuals has fueled the prison's history of violence. San Quentin has been the stage for brutal riots, desperate escape attempts, and countless moments of explosive tension. These events are not just historical footnotes. They are woven into the fabric of the prison's culture, contributing to its reputation as one of America's most feared institutions. For the men living there, this history is not abstract. It's a living reality that shapes their daily existence. But to see San Quentin only as a place of fear and punishment is to miss a crucial part of its story. In recent years, a powerful counter-narrative has emerged from behind the walls. This is a story of hope, education, and the radical possibility of transformation. Groundbreaking programs are challenging the very definition of what a prison can be. One of the most famous is The Last Mile. This program teaches incarcerated men high-level coding and entrepreneurship skills, preparing them for a world that has often left them behind. Inside a classroom, men who might have been destined for a life of crime are instead building websites and developing business plans, gaining the tools to build a new future upon their release. The program is a bridge to the outside world, a tangible path toward a productive life beyond the prison gates. Perhaps even more powerful is the sound of Ear Hustle, a podcast produced entirely inside San Quentin, run by inmates. It offers an unflinchingly honest and often surprisingly humorous look at daily life in prison. The podcast gives a voice to the voiceless, allowing them to share their own stories in their own words. They talk about everything from the challenges of parenting from behind bars to the unwritten rules of the yard, the quiet moments of despair, and the small glimmers of hope. Ear Hustle has reached millions of listeners worldwide, shattering stereotypes and humanizing a population that is so often reduced to a number or a crime. It shows a side of San Quentin that few ever see, a place where creativity, introspection, and a deep desire for connection can flourish even in the harshest of environments. This is the great duality of San Quentin. It is a place of stark contradictions. On one hand, you have the history of executions, the crushing weight of overcrowding, and the ever-present threat of violence. On the other, you have a classroom filled with men learning to code and a recording studio where stories of redemption are broadcast to the world. It is a place where extreme control coexists with profound creativity, where the shadow of death is met with the light of second chances. Every day, the men inside navigate this complex landscape, balancing the struggle for survival with the hope for something more. The prison itself seems to be in a constant state of negotiation with its own identity. Is it a warehouse for society's failures, or a laboratory for human transformation? The shadow of the past, however, is long and persistent. The echo of the gas chamber, the notoriety of its most infamous inmates, and the sheer scale of its death row population makes San Quentin a prison that is impossible to ignore or forget. It remains a potent symbol of American justice, embodying both its harshest impulses and its most progressive ideals. It is a place where punishment is public and visible, yet behind the scenes, quiet efforts at rehabilitation and healing continue every single day. Ultimately, San Quentin reminds us that a prison is more than just concrete and steel. It is a living, breathing system where human lives are put to the ultimate test. It's a place where the line between punishment and humanity is constantly being drawn and redrawn. The story of San Quentin is the story of that line, a story of fear and change, of despair and opportunity, of death and the unyielding hope for redemption. Attica Correctional Facility sits in upstate New York, and its name has become synonymous with one of the most infamous prison uprisings in American history. In September 1971, over 1,200 inmates rose up to demand basic rights and humane treatment. The prison was overcrowded, the conditions harsh, and tensions between guards and prisoners had been building for years. What began as a protest over food, medical care, and living conditions quickly escalated into a full-scale rebellion, with inmates seizing control of parts of the facility and taking more than 40 staff members hostage. The uprising shocked the nation and revealed the deep flaws in the American prison system, including racial disparities, neglect, and systemic injustice. For 4 tense days, inmates negotiated with officials, presenting a list of 28 demands. These included better medical care, educational programs, fair treatment, and an end to the physical abuse and brutality that had long been part of daily life at Attica. The demands reflected a desperate attempt to be heard in a system that had consistently ignored their voices. Outside the prison walls, the public watched nervously, while inside, every moment was filled with uncertainty. Inmates risked their lives to make their grievances known, and the stakes could not have been higher. The standoff ended on September 13th when the state launched a violent assault to retake control of the prison. Law enforcement used tear gas and gunfire, resulting in at least 39 deaths, including 29 inmates and 10 staff members. The aftermath was chaotic and devastating, leaving lasting scars on everyone involved. The Attica Uprising became a symbol of resistance, a warning of what can happen when oppression and neglect are pushed to their limits. It forced the nation to confront the realities of prison life, including overcrowding, abuse, and systemic inequities that had long been hidden from public view. Even today, Attica remains a reminder of the consequences of ignoring human rights behind bars. The facility continues to operate, but its legacy shapes conversations about prison reform, justice, and the treatment of incarcerated individuals. It is a place where fear, rebellion, and tragedy converged, leaving a mark that cannot be erased. Attica teaches that prisons are not only physical spaces, but also reflections of the society that creates them. The walls hold stories of resistance, survival, and the ongoing struggle for dignity, and they remind us that behind every locked door, there is a human story that demands to be heard.